Hurricane Irma still a monster of wind, rain as it pushes north. 7:30 p.m. South Florida Avenue is closed in both directions at Oak Street because of downed power lines, according to the Lakeland Fire Department. Lakeland Electric crews on the way to the scene. 6:45 p.m. Power lines are down at Lake Alfred Road and Lake Ida, according to the Winter Haven Police Department. The Winter Haven Fire Department and TECO are on the way to the scene. Arcing is possible. Polk County Emergency Management says there are widespread reports of trees down throughout the county. Polk Emergency Management reports that about 7,300 residents are in the 20 available shelters and an additional 1,000 with special needs. There are also 600 pets currently in shelters. Currently, the county has about 8,400 shelter spots occupied and a capacity for more than 65,000. According to Polk Emergency Management, about 4,700 residents are without power. No injuries or serious damages have been reported. There has been no reported wastewater spills reported despite electrical outages reported at lift stations earlier. 6 p.m. Lakeland Electric crews will respond to a power outage at Lakeland Airport once winds fall below 30 miles per hour. Vehicles will wait until winds fall to below 45 miles per hour. Hurricane Irma dropped to a Category 1 storm early Monday after it tore through southwest Florida and left more than 4 million customers without power. Irma was downgraded as it moved over the western Florida peninsula, the National Hurricane Center said. By 5 a.m. ET, it had sustained winds of 75 miles per hour with its center 60 miles north of Tampa. Despite its weakening as it passes over land, Irma remains a monster pushing strong winds and flooding in the southeast, forecasters warned. The hurricane hit southwest Florida on Sunday, downing power lines, uprooting trees and turning streets into rivers. It battered Florida's lower half, leaving a trail of tornadoes and storm surge flooding as its course slowly moved inland. The massive storm triggered evacuation orders for 5.6 million people before it made 2 landfalls in the state Sunday. The first one was over the Florida Keys, which Irma hit as a Category 4 hurricane. The second one, in Marco Island, was a Category 3 that left the island without water and power, authorities said. The latest developments: one person was found dead in Orange County in a single-car accident linked to the storm, police said without providing details. Strong winds and flash flooding are still a threat as Irma spins into North Florida and toward Georgia over the next 24 hours. Irma's center will move near the northwestern coast of the Florida Peninsula Monday morning and into southern Georgia in the afternoon, and through southwestern Georgia and eastern Alabama tonight and Tuesday, the center said. Affected states include Florida, Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee, South Carolina and North Carolina. Georgia was already feeling the effects of the storm, with more than 17,000 customers without power in Savannah. Strong winds blowing from the northeast pushed water out of shallow parts of bays and harbors in cities like Tampa and Port Charlotte. As soon as the wind shifts direction, the water will come back quickly and continue to move inland, CNN meteorologist Judson Jones said. A storm surge warning is discontinued for the Florida Keys and some parts of the Florida coast. 2 tornadoes touched down in Brevard County, destroying mobile homes in their path, officials said. No injuries have been reported. Nearly 4 million customers are without power across Florida, according to utility companies. FEMA Chief Brock Long said some places won't have electricity for weeks. In Venice, the water plant was shut down after it was damaged by the storm. Miami streets turned into raging rivers as floodwaters surged, and the city's airport is closed because of significant water damage. There are boil water orders in effect for parts of Broward County, and Miami-Dade County schools are closed until further notice. In Miami-Dade County, police said they arrested 28 people for burglary and looting. Disney World was forced to close, for only the 6th time in its 45-year history. At least 26 deaths have been blamed on Irma in the Caribbean islands, where it hit before barreling toward Florida. Millions face ripping winds. Florida Gov. Rick Scott said Irma's wrath is unprecedented, warning that storm surges could be deadly. You can't survive these storm surges, he said. In Florida and southern Georgia, more than 8 million people face hurricane force winds topping 74 miles per hour, said Ryan Maui of Weather Bell Analytics. Tracked Hurricane Irma's path. South Carolina Gov. Henry McMaster issued a mandatory evacuation for some barrier islands. The National Weather Service in Atlanta issued a tropical storm watch for the area Monday and Tuesday. Schools in the state plan to close Monday. In Alabama, some city school districts including Birmingham, Huntsville and Auburn plan to close Monday and in some cases Tuesday. Before it weakened and headed to the United States, Irma hit Cuba's Chico de Avila province late Friday as a Category 5 hurricane. This is the first year on record that the continental United States has had two Category 4 hurricane landfalls in the same year. Last month, Hurricane Harvey devastated much of coastal Texas and killed more than 70 people. 5:30 p.m. A tornado warning is in effect for the Lake Kissimmee area. Haines City. Trees were reported down on Crest Drive and Johnson Avenue. Both have been removed. There were no injuries. Davenport, the Horseshoe Creek Road area is without power. Winter Haven, according to TECO, there are an estimated 700-800 Winter Haven residents without power. There is a traffic light out at Cypress Gardens Boulevard and 9th Street Southeast, according to the Winter Haven Police Department. Residents are asked to treat the light as a four-way stop. Lakeland. A large tree has fallen on a house on the 800 block of Lake Ruth Avenue, according to the Lakeland Fire Department. Lake Wales, a tree has been reported down at State Road 60 and High Street. 5:15 p.m. The city of Lake Wales reported a down power line that closed North Scenic Highway between Mountain Lake Cutoff Road and the Mountain Lake community about 4 p.m. Duke Energy responded and had the damage repaired about 4:35 p.m. There was also a tree down on Tillman Avenue reported after 4 p.m., which has since been removed. No injuries reported. 4:45 p.m. Bartow Weather Tower is reporting winds at 34 miles per hour. Polk City Weather Station is reporting 2.8 inches of rain since midnight. Bartow's rainfall is up to 2.93 inches since midnight. 4:30 p.m. 4 separate lift stations in Polk County have become inoperable because of power outages in the area. The stations, which county officials described as smaller lift stations, are located at Janvillis Village, Oakwood, Queens Cove Village at Spirit Lake and Oak Preserve. The outages cause wastewater to spill on the ground near the station, but wastewater isn't expected to back up into the home. Residents are asked to use water sparingly. 2:20 p.m. Polk County officials say Philip O'Brien Elementary School shelter in Lakeland can no longer accept any pets. For an updated list of shelters, click here. Florida Polytechnic University has announced it will be closed through Tuesday. The Lakeland school initially had said it would be closed on Monday. The Florida Lottery announced today that daily drawings are being temporarily suspended. Players should keep their tickets, lottery officials said. Officials did not announce an immediate make-up drawing. They reported that it will be as soon as effects of Hurricane Irma have passed. Lakeland, 1:30 p.m. County residents began to see damage from Hurricane Irma this afternoon as trees fell and more than 1,000 outages were reported. The weather has begun to deteriorate from outer bands, said Pete McNally, Polk County Emergency Manager. Hurricane force and tropical storm winds are expected to last through Monday afternoon, he said. In addition, McNally said during a press conference that 10 to 20 inches of rain was expected in Polk County. Shelters continued to fill, McNally said. As of 1 p.m., 8,000 people were in shelters. Hundreds of outages were reported by Lakeland Electric and Tampa Electric. In Winter Haven, a transformer blew, causing outages in the Lake Martha Drive, N.E. area, that left hundreds without power, but the utility reported that power was expected to be restored this afternoon. In Lakeland, 528 Lakeland Electric customers lost power after blown fuses. The utility had restored power to nearly all of those customers by 1 p.m. Joel Ivey, general manager of Lakeland Electric, said he expects 50,000 customers to lose power in the area. He said he hopes to have 75% of those customers restored in 3 days. Utility crews had already started working to remove a downed tree at Meadowbrook Avenue in South Lakeland. With the eye tracking up the western side, winds were expected to be the worst in the Lakeland area, McNally said. But East Polk County remained on alert. There had been reports of tornadoes in Old Taurus, Haines City and Polk City. County officials checked some of the areas, but didn't see any damage, McNally said. Statewide, more than 1 million customers have already lost power. Between 15 million to 20 million people are expected to lose power statewide. Nearly every business was closed in Lakeland today, except, of course, Waffle House. But even that closed by noon. It's not a disaster until the Waffle House closes, said Rico St. Just, manager of the Waffle House on South Florida Avenue. St. Just said the restaurant stayed open all night into the morning. "We're kinda known for that," he said. The Florida Lottery announced today that daily drawings are being temporarily suspended. Players should keep their tickets, lottery officials said. Officials did not announce an immediate make-up drawing. They reported that it will be as soon as impacts of Hurricane Irma have passed. Hurricane Irma latest storm lashes Florida, leaving trail of destruction in its wake. Hurricane Irma was barreling through Florida today, leaving at least 5 people dead and causing billions of pounds worth of damage. The nearly 400-mile-wide storm thundered up the Sunshine State, lashing the Gulf Coast and leaving as many as 4 million people without power as the 100 miles per hour winds and destructive storm surges caused havoc, ripping roofs from homes and flooding entire neighborhoods. The National Hurricane Center said water levels in Naples, one of the wealthiest cities in the U.S. with the nation's second highest proportion of millionaires, rose 7 feet in just 90 minutes. But as America began to count the cost of one of the worst hurricane seasons in living memory, President Trump said Florida may have dodged a bullet. Labeling the hurricane some big monster, he said we may have been a little bit lucky after Irma veered from its original course and headed close to Florida's west coast instead of east. "It will cost a lot of money, but right now we're worried about lives, not costs," added the president after returning to the White House from Camp David, the presidential retreat in Maryland where he spent the weekend monitoring the storm. "It's going to play out over the next 5 or 6 hours," said Mr. Trump, who was accompanied on his return by his wife Melania. Last night, he approved a Florida disaster declaration, making federal funds available for residents in affected areas, and said that he plans to visit Florida very soon. The final cost of rebuilding in Florida is expected to far outstrip the $15.3 billion, £11.6 billion, set aside to aid victims of Hurricane Harvey, which tore through Texas just 3 weeks ago. Irma dropped hurricane categories from a 4 to a 1 and was continuing to weaken as it sped past the Tampa and St. Petersburg regions this morning. The more time the storm stays over land, the quicker it weakens. The huge storm triggered evacuation orders for 5.6 million people, and made 2 landfalls yesterday. The first was over the Florida Keys, which Irma hit as a Category 4 hurricane with sustained winds near 130 miles per hour. The second one hit Marco Island, leaving the entire island without water and power. It whipped through Florida's lower half, leaving a trail of tornadoes and floods as its course slowly made its way inland. Orlando, 35 miles inland, found itself in the crosshairs. Disney World closed down as a precaution, and Orlando, Miami, Tampa and Fort Lauderdale airports all closed, deciding to wait it out until the storm had completely passed. "We're going to be inundated with unprecedented amounts of water," Tampa Mayor Bob Buckhorn said. "It's going to stress our stormwater and sewer capacity. There's going to be overflows. There's no 2 ways around it," he added. An overnight curfew was imposed in Miami to stop looters taking advantage of the countless coastal homes and businesses abandoned as residents fled before the storm hit. At least 32 people have already been arrested, 28 of them in Miami. 2 robbers were involved in a standoff with police after breaking into an empty gun store in Orlando, and a teenager was shot after trying to loot a mansion in Fort Lauderdale. There was some confusion after the White House social media director Dan Scavino tweeted a photo supposedly showing flooding at Miami International Airport. After airport executives responded by saying the photo was fake, Mr. Scavino deleted the message. At least 26 deaths have been blamed on Irma in the Caribbean, where the hurricane hit before barreling towards Florida. Hurricane Irma is getting weaker as it moves over the western Florida peninsula early Monday. Irma hit Florida on Sunday as a powerful Category 4 hurricane, hammering much of the state with roof-ripping winds, gushing floodwaters and widespread power outages. By Monday morning, Irma had weakened to a Category 1 hurricane with winds near 85 miles per hour, 135 kph. Additional weakening is forecast and Irma is expected to become a tropical storm over northern Florida or southern Georgia later in the day. As of 2 a.m. EDT, the storm was centered about 25 miles, 40 kilometers, northeast of Tampa and moving north-northwest near 15 miles per hour. 24 kph. Irma continues its slog north along Florida's western coast, having blazed a path of unknown destruction, with communication cut to some of the Florida Keys, where Irma made landfall Sunday, and rough conditions persisting across the peninsula. Many are holding their breath for what daylight might reveal. Meanwhile, search and rescue experts are heading to the shattered former colony of St. Martin to support the humanitarian relief effort in the aftermath of Hurricane Irma. A team of 59 urban search and rescue experts is flying Monday to the Dutch territory that's home to some 40,000 people, where 70% of homes were badly damaged last week by a direct hit from the Category 5 storm. 4 people were killed and dozens injured. The Dutch government also is sending extra troops to maintain order following widespread looting and robberies. The government says there are already nearly 400 extra troops in St. Martin and that number will rise to some 550 over the next 2 days. Dutch King Willem-Alexander is expected to visit the island Monday to show his support for local residents and the emergency services working to restore infrastructure and begin the process of reconstruction.